Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. We are studying the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna's teaching on Jnana Yoga, the nature of the self. Who am I? What am I actually? That is now over. The next great subject, next great theme of the second chapter is Karma Yoga. That's going to come later. But in between there is an interlude. So where Sri Krishna is going to talk some common sense to Arjuna. So that's the part we are at. The verses are simple. Meaning is also simple. Not much philosophy in there. But we will ignore those verses or dismiss them lightly at our own peril. Often, probably, to put our life back in shape, this is exactly what we need. So let's hear what Sri Krishna has to say. We saw in the last class, the 31st verse, Swadharmam api chavekshya na vikampitum arhasi dharmyadhi yuddhat shreyo nanyat kshatriyasya na vidyate. Anyat kshatriyasya na vidyate. He says that considering your duty, you should not hesitate to perform this admittedly terrible duty of fighting a righteous war against the evil, because there is no greater good fortune for a kshatriya, for a warrior, than a righteous battle. Now here the key concept is of swadharma, and last time we discussed it. I'm not going to go deep into it. That's the basis on which Krishna is going to argue his case. Not on the basis of high philosophy or Vedanta, but on the basis of morality and a sense of honor, sense of dignity and duty. So that's what's going to happen now for the next few verses up to 38. Yes, up to 38. Before he switches to the next great teaching of Karma Yoga. Verse number 32. Yadrichaya chopapannam swargadvaram apavritam sukhina kshatriya partha labhante yuddhamidrisham. And happy, O Partha, are the Kshatriyas who get such a battle, which has come of its own accord and is an open gateway to heaven. So here, if you read closely, you'll notice something interesting in the language that Krishna uses. I had mentioned it last time, that often these verses are a direct answer to certain questions that Arjuna had raised in what we saw in the first chapter. His objections to this, what he's supposed to do right now, his objections, the language he used. For example, look at this verse. Sukhina kshatriya partha. He says, "Oh Arjuna, happy indeed is the warrior who gets an occasion like this, a duty which is so clear." Now, happy is the warrior. If you contrast this with in chapter 1, verse number 37, Arjuna had asked a question, Swajanam hi katham hatva sukhina syamah. How can we be happy by killing our own relatives? Which seemed like a very pertinent question. But look at the language he used. He said, how can we be happy if I do this? How can I be happy if I do this? And what is Krishna saying here? Happy indeed is the warrior who gets a chance to do this. See, the whole picture changes when the little self with a small s, is removed from the picture. With what kind of a mindset had Arjuna approached this battle? He thought he is going to take revenge on the Kauravas for all the wrongs they have done him. That is true, they had wronged him. He is going to get the kingdom which is righteously his and his brothers. But notice what, and there's nothing wrong in this, you can't find fault with it. It's common sense. But in a deeper analysis, it reveals one thing. It is all self-centered. It's all self-centered. I will take revenge, because I want revenge. I will get the kingdom for myself and my elder brother and my brothers, because it is our kingdom. Now what happens is, when suddenly the little self gets a shock, my relatives, see, it's still the self, my relatives, what will I do with the kingdom? This is the framework he is thinking now. The same thing which was an incentive for him to fight a battle has now become a disincentive. He's now no longer feeling motivated, because he says, I don't want revenge at this cost. He says, what is the use of a kingdom drenched in the blood of our relatives? But what is he thinking? Kingdom for myself. And so, what is the use of getting such a kingdom? What Krishna is now doing is, he's reframing the entire problem, not in terms of the little self of Arjuna, in terms of what should be done. What is the duty of a warrior in this situation? It is to protect society from evildoers. And not because you are going to personally take revenge on those guys. Okay, those guys are villains. But not because you are going to take revenge on them, or you don't want to take revenge on them. No, in any case, you are appointed by society to protect it. This is what you have to do. It is not relevant then whether they are your relatives or not. If a policeman starts thinking, how can I arrest this guy? He is my brother, or he is a nephew. Then society is in deep trouble. So he is reframing it in terms of ethics, an impersonal code of ethics and duty. And of course, it's a direct answer to Arjuna's questions. Also, yadrichaya, without any effort, you have got this tremendous opportunity to make your life meaningful. You are a warrior, you have got a particular duty in society, and now an opportunity has come. How many people get an opportunity to do something good and great in their life? Here you are being called upon to do something. Rise to the occasion. And it's a very beautiful phrase. Swarga dwaram apavritam yadrichaya. Without any effort, the gates of heaven have swung open for you. Here he means it in a particular context of Arjuna's the battle. But it is true for all of us in the wider context of spiritual life. See, literally the gates of heaven in the sense of spiritual life, liberation, moksha, God realization, those gates have swung open for us. What a great, great blessing it is to hear this message, to have this opportunity, to have a mind which wants to pursue this. We all do, otherwise you wouldn't be here today. We are all spiritual seekers in some sense. What Krishna is telling us is, recognize the great blessing that there is here. You are all idealists. You might not think, you said, oh Swami, not me. You are. I forget the name of the book, a very recent book, Mark Edmondson, I think in Defense of Ideals, Self and Ideals. It's a very recent book. I read the book review and I was browsing through the book itself. The first page is so shocking. I don't remember the exact language, but it goes something like this. He says, the day of ideals is long past. We live in an eminently pragmatic age where everybody wants how to be successful in this society, how to make a little more money, how to get the pleasure and the power and the wealth that one can get. Whatever helps me to get that is practical. Whatever does not is irrelevant to me and silly and meaningless at worst. Ideals have been dismissed as delusional or not practical, not useful. Then he goes on to say that the knowledge that we consider to be useful in societies, he means especially advanced societies like this, and where more so than in New York, the knowledge that we consider to be useful is not spiritual knowledge, is not philosophical knowledge, is not religious knowledge. Not knowledge talk about higher ideals and ethics. No. What we consider to be useful is what is immediately helpful to us to attain our hedonistic goals. Some kind of practical knowledge. There is enormous demand to be practical. Practical. Practical in what? Practical to do what? To earn a few dollars more? To enhance my pleasures, the pleasures of my senses? That's what the meaning of practical today. And then he goes on. In the next third paragraph, he goes on to say, academia today, if you go to college today, university today, they will relieve you of the guilt of not being idealistic. Or he says, anybody who's taken a degree today in sociology or philosophy, modern philosophy, the cleverest of philosophers are on your side to show that any kind of ideals is foolishness. Those who follow ideals, idealism is somehow delusional. Those who follow ideals are either hypocrites or cheats, or they are stupid. All of them will use all their intellectual prowess to create doubt about whether any kind of idealism, just including, of course, religion, all of that. So the whole book is actually a defense of being idealistic in the modern age. He says, as a result of this, what we have got is, he says, we have got poison as a result of this. He quotes Nietzsche, who was at the source of all of this today. But he himself was not, he did not approve of it. He said this is what's going to happen in the wake of what he called the death of God. It's going to happen. But he was not in support of this. He says modern man at that time, 200 years ago, he says modern man has his poisons for the day and the poisons for the night. So the way we keep ourselves engaged in forgetting anything higher and grander and transcendental, everything here now finished. So Krishna is saying here, how lucky we are that we have a mind which believes, which feels that there is something transcendental. Can you hear me at the back? Yeah. That there is something transcendental. There is something higher. Call it God, call it moksha, call it liberation, whatever, salvation, but something beyond the world of senses. We truly believe it. We truly believe a spiritual solution for the suffering of life is possible. In that book, Mark Edmondson, he goes on to talk about Buddha, Confucius, and Christ as embodying the spiritual ideal, he says. So we are blessed that we have a mind which has this feeling that a spiritual ideal is possible, and it is for me, and it's helpful to me. It's real for me and helpful to me. Sukhina kshatriya partha labhante yuddham idrisham. Happy, here Krishna of course means it in a slightly narrower sense, that for you, your life will become meaningful if you fulfill your role as a warrior in a good cause. All of us are not called, very few of us are called to be warriors, but in each of our professions, personal life, in professional life, we are continuously faced with this decision between what is called Shreya and Preya. Shreya means that which is good for us and for society, beneficial. I know what is right. Preya is that which is easy, that which is pleasant. And often the two are not the same. Often that which is easy and pleasant, I know, nobody has to tell me. I know that if I complete my assignment tonight, that's the thing I should be doing. And not watching a game on TV or my favorite soap opera on, I know, nobody has to tell me really. But that one is difficult, and being a couch potato is easy. Shreya and Preya. I know, really nobody has to tell me this. So this is what Sri Krishna is pointing out. suppose one does not do this, if one does not follow this path of Shreya, that which is beneficial for me, then what will happen? 33rd verse. Atha chettvimam dharmyam sangramam na karishyasi tata swadharmam kirtim cha hitva papam avapsyasi. If you do not do it, that which is before you right now, then you will, number one, fail in your duty. Number two, you lose your reputation. Whatever you have earned till now as a great warrior, the person who does the right thing, you'll lose that reputation. And third, you will actually positively incur sin. Papa. Remember that in India, this is a common idea, the law of karma. The law of karma is, if you do what is right, you know what is right and you do it, that is called dharma. And if you do something, that has an effect. The effect of doing dharma is called punya. And that punya gives rise to a result in your life. The result of punya, literally if you translate punya, it will mean merit. The result of merit is sukha, happiness. If I consciously, deliberately do what I know to be wrong, that is called adharma. Not dharma, adharma. And the result of adharma is what is called papa, demerit. That's the closest word we have to sin. Demerit. And the demerit will give rise to an effect in our lives which is called dukkha, suffering, some kind of suffering. So all the suffering and happiness that we get in our lives is due to punya and papa in earlier lives maybe. And that punya and papa, merit and demerit, is earned by our own righteous conduct or unrighteous conduct. And here Krishna is saying, not only will you fail in your duty, not only will you lose your reputation, but you'll also positively incur adharma, that is papa. And the result of papa is dukkha, suffering. You will get suffering as a result of this. This is an argument based on, appealing to a person's sense of duty, sense of honor. You will lose your reputation. Often we say that, why should we care what other people think of you? Krishna will say, people will criticize you. Why should we care? This is true in one sense, but it's also not true in another sense. Our reputation in society is a good feedback, what today we might call feedback. Often we are delusional about ourselves. What other people say, you don't have to swallow it completely. But check, is it true? To what extent is it true? Who said that? Socrates, I think. Kabir Das also said it. Keep your critics near you. They keep you clean without soap and water. Yeah. Kabir Das also said it. Yes. Nindak nihari rakho. Keep those who criticize you near you so that they'll keep you clean without soap and water. Socrates also said something like that. Yes, that is true. So, listening to public opinion, the polls are not just for politicians. For us also, you don't have to take a poll, but there are interesting exercises that we do when you go through, say, an MBA, for example. So, what is your self-image? And what is the perceived image? That means what other people perceive. And you'd be surprised. Often it comes as a big blow, as a shock. On the whole, the result will always be this. We are nowhere near as good as we think we are. Nobody sees us as good as we think we ourselves are. But also the reverse. Nobody thinks of us as badly as we think of ourselves. Often people have low self-esteem, a lot of people. And they are very fine people actually. Other people see them as, no, you're not bad. You're not particularly great either, but somebody joked that most people think of themselves as better than average. That's statistically impossible. How can most people be better than average? Yeah. Sri Ramakrishna often used arguments like this. In the midst of all his spiritual teaching, he would use a lot of common sense. There was this man who, in order to avoid the struggle in his village, fighting with poverty and keeping his family going, but he did generally really like Sri Ramakrishna, and he had a religious tendency also. See, it's not false when that person used to come and tell Sri Ramakrishna, I want to stay with you. I want to do spiritual practice, meditation and japa. And he used to do that too. And it's not that it was entirely a kind of made up thing. But it was also neglecting his duties at back home. His wife and kids were back home and they're suffering from poverty. One day Sri Ramakrishna said to him sharply, and who's going to take care of your wife and kids? The neighbors. And so he sent him back. See, Sri Ramakrishna, who encouraged people to come to solitude and practice meditation and spiritual disciplines, he sends this man back to samsara to take care of. You cannot become spiritual by escaping. Yeah. Escapism and spirituality are not the same thing. I myself have seen, we become monks by giving up all worldly duties, responsibilities, activities, and you enter a monastery. But when I was in the monastery, the first thing I thought, my first day itself, I thought that I'm going to be taught how to meditate and do puja and study the Gita and things like that. All that was there, but they said, here is a hostel with students who stay there. There are 40 kids there, go and look after them. I said, 40 kids? If I'd married, I would have had 1 or 2 kids maybe. 40 kids. Now, over the years, I got this feeling, maybe I should be like one of those wandering ascetics, stay by myself. And I did that. I took leave from the order and then I went off by myself into the Himalayas. There are times when I begged for food, and at least on one occasion I slept under a tree, more out of the adventure of it than the sheer necessity. But one thing, and I lived in a little cottage over the river, the Gangotri. So one thing I realized was that the structure of ashram life, where in a community you have to get up at this time, you have to attend prayers at this time, you have to sit with everybody and eat at a particular time, you have to clean your room, you have to go to the school and teach the kids, you have to go to the office and do the correspondence, you have to, this one after another throughout the day. And you have to do it because it's a community, you're part of it. And the time you have for meditation in the morning and the evening, I found over time that short time, though I'm tired and there's less time for meditation, but that was more effective than when you're completely left to yourself. At first, it's wonderful. I could meditate for hours and hours at a stretch, and I used to think, wow, I should have started with this. But then, 2 weeks is one thing and 20 years is something else. Yeah. So over a period of 2 months, the longest I did that was for 2 months at one stretch, I found that my day is sinking to a level lower than what I was doing in the ashram. Then that showed me that no, there is a value to structure in life. There is a value to duties in life. See, the duties in which God has put us, we struggle against it, but they are not against our spiritual life. They are actually helpful for our spiritual life. We are in a hurry. We want nirvikalpa samadhi right away. And my office work and picking up the kids from school, it's all disturbing me. Otherwise, I could have become enlightened long ago. Oh, that's what we think. Don't kid yourselves. It's because of you guys that I'm not enlightened. Oh, no. Not at all. It's because of family and job and society that we have attained the little bit of genuine progress that we have today. Yes. Yes.
Doesn't Thakur say in the Gospel
Yes.
that as you on spiritually, your worldly duties start falling one by one?
True, he said that. Don't give up your duties by force. He used to give a particularly gruesome example of a wound. A scab is forming over it. If you scratch it, it'll start bleeding again. Let it heal, and the dead skin will fall off by itself. In the same way, your duties in samsara will slowly get reduced. What happens is when they do get reduced, we are so addicted to it. We don't think we are addicted, but we are addicted. People are addicted to it. Brought up kids, they have grown up, they have their own family now. Now we are eager to bring up the grandkids. Are you really wanted in your kids' families? Maybe at Thanksgiving, yes, but more than that? No. There should be a general process of being for being mature and elevating yourself above it. The old ashrama system, brahmacharya ashrama, garastha ashrama, vanaprastha ashrama, and sannyasa ashrama. That means first you are a student, a young person, getting ready for life. Then you are a married person. You have a house, a job, maybe you have a family, a partner, and then you go from that to a retired person. Retired is our word for it. Vanaprastha is a much more interesting word. It means the one who has gone to the forest. So, which means you withdraw. Not completely. You still give society the benefit of your wisdom and your expertise which you have gathered over the years, but you are not completely involved in samsara as much. And then finally you are ready to become a spiritual seeker all by yourself, a monk. If not formally, at least internally you are like that. That shows a process of maturation. I have had so many people tell me, I have known them, friends for example, who, when we were, before I became a monk, when we were in college, all they wanted was a fine job with a high-paying job and a family and a nice car to drive and a good place to live in and things like that. 20 years later, I meet them, and they've got exactly what they wanted. They don't see it that way, but I see it, literally. I know at least a couple of cases where, when I was about to become a monk, my friends asked, why are you becoming a monk? What's the big deal? And so we had this discussion about what do you want in life? And they had told me certain things. 20 years later, I see that the person has got all of them and unhappy. Inevitably unhappy. Who's become happy with those things? But it's worthwhile going through that experience. Now what do you want? Now they get the feeling that, okay, I have got a job, I have got a wife or a husband, I have got a family, but I feel sort of trapped because in the sense begins to grow that this is it. There's nothing much more that's going to happen. Young people won't understand that. You wait for 20 years. You suddenly realize, if you're honest and a little realistic, that yes, this is it. It's only going to get worse from now on. Kids are going to grow up and go away. Body is going to get older and sicker and less capable. The world is going to move ahead without me. So all of these, inevitably, they're going to happen. Now, what does our society, unfortunately, a modern society, has no antidote to this. Their only reply is, well, earn more, replace iPhone 7 with iPhone 8. That's the only answer. Little more of the same thing, but that's not going to solve it. What does the ashrama system of ancient India, in principle, what did they say? Grihastha ashrama, the householder stage, you see, the gradation of values, kama, artha, dharma, moksha. Pleasure. Notice that pleasure is, children, maybe teenagers, are pleasure-centric. But by the time you are in your 20s or 30s, how much of your time is spent in partying, in chasing pleasure? Very little, if any. Most of your time is spent in looking after the family, your job, maintaining things in the house and in your office and things like that. Most of your time is spent in fulfilling your responsibilities. Obviously. So that is called artha. one step higher. Kama, pleasure, chasing pleasure, and then artha, career, family responsibilities, social responsibilities. Beyond that, what's beyond that? You expand outwards. Dharma is higher than that. Not just for myself, not just for the family. Now that I have got this, expand beyond that. So when people will come and say, now what do I do with life? Now I'm in my 40s and I know, I've got it. I have a spouse and kids and a career. I sort of know it's going to go this way, but I sort of feel what else is going to happen in society? What else is going to happen to me in life? Now, he's not looking for a spiritual answer. If I say that, do you sit and meditate and breathe like this and meditate on Om? That's not quite what he's looking for. The answer given by that ashrama and the gradation of values is that you expand outwards. Now do something for the larger community. It's not an intuitive answer. How can I become happier? Instead of trying to make this person happier, try to make other people happier. You will see you'll be happier. This will not work with for the average kid or teenager. They have to go through life and fulfill certain personal goals. And when that maturity comes, for some it comes much earlier, some it comes much later. Then expand outwards. A family does that. In a natural way, a family makes you less self-centered and more family-centered. Now it's more for the kids, more for the family. But then you have to expand beyond that. It's still biological. Family is biological. You have to expand beyond that. Community, people who need your help. It will make you happier. Swami Vivekananda said, unselfishness in the long run is more paying, but it requires maturity to understand that. We think, if I'm selfishly pursuing the goal, what's the goal? Make number one happy. Who's number one? I. Make this number one happy, then everything will be all right. You keep trying and it doesn't work. This number one is a black hole, can't be filled with anything. At one point, the maturity must come, I will do something for others. See, a lot of work has recently been done. These are very old things, but in a modern form, positive psychology is working on this. So in positive psychology, Martin Seligman, I think Authentic Happiness, there are websites. You can go and take the test and find out how happy you are. You're guaranteed to be less happy after the test than you were. Yeah. Very interesting tests. What Seligman found was, to put it very briefly, he said happiness is a function of three things. H is equal to P plus E plus M. Happiness is a function of pleasure, engagement, meaning. Pleasure, engagement, meaning. Pleasure is the first thing that we try to do when I want to be happy. So eat a cookie and go to your favorite restaurant or watch a movie. What we run towards to become happy is pleasure. And it does give an immediate burst of happiness. Some kind of little elevation it gives. But it's very limited. It's very limited. Why? First of all, it's transitory. The happiness that you get from eating a cookie is just few seconds. Once it's down your gullet, it's gone. The happiness is gone. Unhappiness starts after that. Then it's habit forming. Next time you need more of that or better variety of that. The law of diminishing marginal utility in economics. Each unit you consume gives you less and less satisfaction. So first cookie gives you a lot of happiness, second one little less, third one little less, fourth one nothing at all, fifth one you'll feel sick. So diminishing marginal utility. Because of these reasons, and then there are so many other problems. For example, we change. The same thing which used to make you happy when you were a teenager no longer makes you happy. It will just irritate you. The same, our capacities are limited. How much will you eat? How many movies will you watch? How many vacations will you take? Capacity to enjoy, you'll get exhausted, you'll get tired, you'll finally break down if you try to consume too much. So, all of these are limited, and therefore pleasure is not the solution in our search for happiness. Luckily, there is something better. Seligman says engagement. Engagement is much greater happiness comes when you like what you are doing. If you are one of those fortunate people who enjoy your careers, whatever you're doing, it need not be a career. Sometimes if you don't enjoy the work that you're doing, hobby, people take up hobbies because of that. And activity. See, the difference between engagement and pleasure is this. Watching a game on TV is pleasure. Going out and playing the game is engagement. This is the difference. Actually playing a game out there might not be all pleasurable. It's hard work. But it gives happiness. It gives satisfaction. And so Seligman found invariably engagement would give more satisfaction than pleasure. Remember the equation. H, happiness, total happiness, is equal to, on one side is H, on the other side of the equation is pleasure, engagement, meaning. Engagement gives more happiness, lasting happiness compared to pleasure. But even there is a limit. Workaholic. They work day and night. But there are many people who after retirement they break down because there's nothing more in life. They feel meaningless, helpless. Nervous breakdown. Burnout. What is the term? Burnout. There is something which gives more happiness than even engagement. What is that? Meaning. A purpose, a higher purpose in life, a meaningful life. Usually, not always, but usually meaning involves other people, where you can do something for other people. So he said, happiness is a function of pleasure, engagement, meaning. Pleasure gives momentary, immediate burst of happiness, but it's very little, and it's very problematic. Engagement gives more happiness than pleasure. And meaning in life, if you are lucky and fortunate enough to find a meaningful and purposeful life, and one clue to that, how to find meaning in your life is, what can I do for other people? How can I make other people happy? That will immediately give meaning to your life. So, these three. Now, when I read this, immediately what came to my mind was pleasure, engagement, meaning. Do you see kama, artha, dharma? Kama is pleasure, literally. You can map it. Engagement is, artha literally means wealth, but it means career, success, name and fame. In a general sense, artha is overall success and attainments in life. Higher than that, meaning and dharma you have to stretch. Dharma is a wide term, but you can stretch it to morality, meaning, a purposeful life. Moksha is beyond these three. Seligman does not include moksha. So these three, that's why at a certain point in life, you have to go beyond pleasure and your career. You have to expand outwards into what is called dharma. That gives more satisfaction. We have gone way off topic. Oh no, not really. Yeah, it's true. It's a good way to think. I'm not as happy as I want to be. All right, let me check. Yes.
Swamiji, they say God resides in your heart, right? And they say follow your heart.
Well, these are good slogans, but what do you mean follow your heart? And how many people can follow their heart? What Arjuna would say, my heart tells me that I will not fight this battle and I'll go to the Himalayas and meditate. Disastrous for him and for everybody else concerned. Yes, there's a point to that, because when Krishna said swabhava, your own nature, your heart, if consistently if he's telling you something, that's probably your own nature. Yeah. So that's something to listen to. In this society especially for the last 30 to 40 years, young people have been continuously told, That find your meaning in life, find your purpose in life, find your passion in life. Now there's a pressure that I can't find any passion in life, so I'm a loser. What Krishna says here is, go back to the basics. Are you doing what you are supposed to be doing? How are the basics in your life? Have you fulfilled your responsibilities? What is the feedback from other people in society about you? Are those things okay? Then after that you search for your passion in life. In Indian society, at least it's changing now, but until recently it was just the opposite. Both have their advantages and disadvantages. In Indian society, I know if a kid said, oh, I'm going to drop out of college and I'm going to paint or play the guitar. What are you doing following your passion? You'd be condemned all around. Because a good kid is the one who studies, fulfills his duties, his or her duties in life, what is expected from parents and from the society and all of that. If you have done that, you can take satisfaction in having done what you are supposed to be doing. And there's a negative side to that also. There's a negative side to that. So there are these two opposites. Yes.
So, Swamiji, when you mentioned the previous point where we have to do our responsibilities without like totally getting into pressurized into getting a meaning. So, is performing responsibility without knowing where we are going or where, like what we should be doing after like sometime later, is that sustainable? Like just doing the things that we have to do without knowing where we are going because of that?
Where you are going, even if you don't do it, you don't know. Right? It is important to have a high goal in life. Now, to have a high goal in life, these are the things which help us. Should the goal be pleasure? No. Because ultimately it will lead to unhappiness. Should the goal be my career, my hobby, my passion? It's little better than pleasure, but ultimately it's still not enough. Should it be a meaningful life? Yeah. Now, what is a meaningful life? That will differ and it may differ at different times in our life also. That's why in India, the highest goal was always kept as spirituality, which is just sheer meaningfulness. If a person has that, person doesn't need anything else. Look at somebody like Mahatma Gandhi. So he had this tremendous thing that he is doing for millions of his countrymen. And so he didn't need fancy clothes. A loincloth was enough for him. He went to meet what was that? I think, not Churchill, King George.
Yeah.
And they asked him, Mr. Gandhi, do you think this is appropriate? It's in the movie also. It happened really. Do you think it's appropriately dressed to meet the king? King George, who wore all the medals and is gorgeously dressed. So Gandhi replied, I think he wore enough for both of us. Good, really delicious food and prepared by the best chefs, not important. Not important. Clothes, not important. Where you stay, how much you have got in your bank balance, how much you have made over, not important. Why? Because he has found something which is so meaningful, so fulfilling, the rest of it does not matter. It will just be irritating. Let's go. And anybody who has found meaning in life, I met a few people. There was a conference for inspiring young people in India. There were some who were. We had got a panel of people who would be young, who are young and have done something interesting in their lives, which would be inspiring for school, for college kids. Among them were a couple of Silicon Valley millionaires who had their own startups, and they had given it all up. One was running an NGO in Karnataka to teach school kids in rural Karnataka. Another was engaged in an NGO whose task was to gather used clothes so that they could be given to very poor people who did not have clothes. Things like that. Now, one thing they were asked All of them. All of them had given up the so-called pleasurable life or even successful life. See, pleasure, engagement, kama, artha. They'd given it up and they were doing something else. And people were saying, oh, what a great sacrifice you have made. Wrong. I was the moderator for the discussion. So I asked all of them, the entire panel. All of these people were like very motivating people for society. I said, do you think you made a sacrifice? And all of them said, no. We have given up something much lower for something much better. People think that you're doing something idealistic and you are made such a sacrifice. No. Even if you're given that old life back, I wouldn't take it because I'm much happier now. Because why are they happier now? They're earning much less than they were earning earlier. They're having much less parties and fun than they were having earlier. Then how are they happier now? Meaning. The last one, Seligman's equation. Pleasure, engagement, meaning.
So, what is happiness? How do we define happiness? We are discussing a lot of happiness, but what is the definition?
Your feelings, sustainable feelings over time. If you want a more technical definition, psychologists will call it positive effect, if that helps.
But it is that you always relatively compare with some existing experience. You find delta and you say, I am happy.
Yes.
And it's a chain, vicious chain. Right? Anything you do, for example, you said cookie, right?
Yeah.
If I repeat it and I do a relative comparison of the existing experience, and you find a delta,
Yes.
you're happy. As soon as it diminishes, there's no more.
Correct.
Then you're on to next thing. to find
Correct.
delta.
Yes.
So isn't that the happiness? But why Seligman says that happiness is that E plus E plus thing?
Yeah. So happiness is not just pleasure. That's what we just discussed.
It could be anything, right? Just comparison to the relative current experience. It could be any parameter, but comparison to relative current experience. And if there's a delta, there's happiness. No, you're on next.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. A person who has a meaningful life, for example. So one example Seligman gives is of moms with young children. So very little of their day-to-day lives is pleasurable. And they are often irritated, overworked. But over the years, if you ask them, look back on the last 5 years of raising the kid, was it satisfying? Almost all of them will say it was very fulfilling. Any one of that, at any point, if you ask, what is your delta in happiness? They'll say, I'm not at all happy. Can't you see? I'm overworked. I don't get enough sleep. I'm tired. And they even say, this kid has just ruined my life. They may even say all these things. But in general, because that this person depends on me, that automatically gives, though it's biological, but it automatically gives a certain amount of meaning to life.
Maybe the mother is comparing to other experiences and saying, yes, I'm happy.
No, I'm not very sure. One thing one must understand, this imperative to be happy, suppose you ask this question, no, why should we try to be happy at all? It's a meaningless question. Do you see in depth, our primary drive is to avoid unhappiness, overcome unhappiness, and be happy. Your definition of happiness might change. Your definition, your understanding of happiness, you can call it some other, you can call them names, you can call it satisfaction, you can call it fulfillment, you can call it bliss. I know some very intelligent people said, no, this idea that we are meant for chasing happiness is not correct. He's a scientist. So he has written in his book that whether it makes me happy or unhappy, I want the truth. I am pursuing, I want to solve these mysteries of the universe. Great. And I wondered, how can such an intelligent person be so stupid? Just ask the question, discovering the truth satisfies you or makes you dissatisfied? Satisfied. That is happiness. Pursuit of happiness, call it pleasure, satisfaction, joy, whatever you call it, fulfillment, it is primary for all conscious beings. And overcoming unhappiness, sorrow, is primary. Dispute that. Dispute it. Think about it. If you think a little bit about it, you will see it is there. Yes.
Define peace.
Why would you want a definition of peace? You know it when you've got it. You know it when you feel it, yes.
To me,
Yes.
it is closest to happiness than anything that I have ever experienced in my life.
That's a very wise thing to say, sir. In spiritual life, this pleasure or excitement or thrill, that is not happiness. Peace is happiness. Yes.
I think contentment.
Contentment, peace, deep peace. Yoga, Patanjali Yoga. What is the definition of yoga? Yoga's chitta vritti nirodha. The complete serenity, quietness, the peace of the mind is yoga. That is happiness. An immature person thinks a thrill is happiness. Excitement is happiness. In this country especially, it's become a fashion to say, are you excited? In Vedanta, this is, they would ask, why are you excited? What's wrong with you? Don't be excited. That is true. Peace of mind is the deepest happiness. Okay. Now, let me go ahead. Thirty-fourth verse. Akirtim chapi bhutani kathayishyanti te avyayam sambhavitasya cha kirtim maranadatirichyate akirtim chapi bhutani kathayishyanti te avyayam sambhavitasya cha kirtihi maranad atirichyate. People will talk about your everlasting dishonor. And for one held in esteem by many, infamy, dishonor is worse than death. So it's an appeal to honor. Not very deep philosophy here. He says, for a person of repute, to lose reputation is far worse than to lose wealth or health or anything else. Reputation is very important. And remember, Arjuna was a warrior, very well-known warrior. He says, you're going to lose all of that. Then people will criticize you. What will they say? 35. Bhayadranaduparatam mangsyante tvam maharatha yeshang cha tvam bahumato bhutva yasyasi laghavam. These mighty warriors, your colleagues, the mighty warriors will think that you have run away from battle because of fear. Having been highly esteemed by them, now you will fall into disgrace in their eyes, in their ranking. So you are in the top 10. Now you'll sink without a trace. So this is what he's saying to Arjuna. You lose your reputation. 36, and he goes on. Avatyavadangscha bahun vadishyanti tavahita nindantastav samathyam tato dukkataram nukim. What will they say? Your enemies will be saying many unmentionable things. They'll abusive things. They will make fun of your prowess. What can be more painful than that? So it's something that is bound, it's very psychological. It will work for anybody who has high self-esteem, anybody who has a high reputation to maintain. Not somebody who doesn't think much of oneself. Oh, I'm no good. Let people say whatever they want. I know I'm no good. Not for that kind of person. a person who has, say, a high professional esteem in one's own profession, in one's own circles. And what really hurts is people in your own circle, people whose opinion you value. I remember there was this, for example, the two monks who were strict, but in different ways. When I was a young novice, one monk would shout and yell and scold us. And we didn't think much of that because we knew he was a very jolly kind of person, and he was a simple person, And when he got mad at us, he would just yell at us and shout at us and threaten to beat us. Once he whacked me with a stick also. But and you don't remember that, and it's all right. I mean, I don't even remember the number of times he's yelled at me. His way of, say, waking up the novices, you have to go meditate at 4 o'clock in the morning. So his way of waking them up, and for most of us, we are not used to getting up so early in the morning. So his way of waking up the youngsters would be to go and kick the door. Early in the morning, it's still dark, and you would hear the almighty bang on the door and a shout, "You rascal, how long are you going to sleep? Up with you. I want to see you in the temple." I remember the first time I saw that. I was just 3 or 4 days I just joined. I was sitting, and there was this sudden, I'm meditating early in the morning, this blinding light. And I thought I was enlightened. I thought, already? It's just been 3 days. And then I saw, no, in the temple, this monk, this tough monk, he's there with a flashlight. He's looking at each of the youngsters to see who has come and who's missing. So he's taking their names. It's dark in the temple, so you can't make out who's who. That's one side of it. That's one kind of person. The other kind of person is another monk whose name I won't mention. He is only once or twice he scolded me, and I'll never forget it in my whole life. I mean, this scolding was just like this. It wasn't a lie. It was kind of an evasive thing. He asked me to do something, and I hadn't totally forgotten about it. When he asked me again, "Where is that letter?" And I said, "Oh yes, I'll do it." Neglecting to mention that I had forgotten about it. I should have said, "I've forgotten about it. I'm sorry. I'll go and do it now." I sort of pretending as if I was about to do it. And he was the head of the center. He said, "Come back here." I was rushing off quickly, disappearing. He said, "Come back here." He just said one thing, and I can never forget it as long as I live. He just said, "If that's what you're going to be, why be a monk?" And I felt like I could have sunk through the floor, because you hold this person in such high repute, and if you're fallen low in his eyes, yeah. So, this is the thing, reputation. So Krishna is a very good psychologist. He says, where philosophy won't work, psychology is going to work. Then 37. What's going to happen if he actually does it? Either he's going to win or lose. Krishna is now going to show him both ways he wins. Hato va prapsyasi swargam, hato va prapsyasi swargam, jitva va bhokshase mahim, jitva va bhokshase mahim, tasmaduttishta kaunteya, Aduttishta kaunteya, yuddhaya krita nishchaya, yuddhaya krita nishchaya. If you lose the battle, you will be killed in battle, and you will attain heaven, reserved for the great warriors who have fought there, done their best in battle. Or if you are victorious, then you will gain the kingdom. So in both ways, you are the gainer. See, this is an answer to something that Arjuna had asked him. Just before Krishna starts teaching, Arjuna had said in the 6th verse of this very chapter, he had said, Nachaitad vidma kataranno gariyo yadva jayema yadiva na jayeyuhu. I don't know, when he was saying, I won't fight this battle, I don't know which is better. This thing is so horrible. I don't know which is better. Is it better to lose At least I won't kill these people. Or is it better to win? Because winning is good, but what good is winning? Because it'll be this kingdom is gained at the cost of my relative's blood. It's a civil war. So I lose whether I win or I lose the battle. In both ways, I am the loser. And Krishna says he has reversed the thing. He's using the same language to say in both cases, whether you win the battle or lose the battle, in both cases you are the winner. See, the whole difference is from taking a selfish attitude to what's going to happen to me versus doing the right thing. If you do the right thing, whatever the result, you are the winner. Hato va prapsyasi swargam. If you are killed, you will get the heavenly realms, and if you win, you will get the kingdom of the earth. You will get it. The commentator says, "Paksha dvayapi tava labha." In both cases, you come out ahead. I remember this question about somebody asked, "What should we do in life? We just keep on doing what is our responsibility, or what is the thing to do in life? How do you know what is going to be meaningful for me?" Seligman says, "Do the thing which is meaningful, do the thing which is purposeful, meaningful." But even there, if you say that, whether the slogan is "Find your passion," difficult. I've been trying so many years, all the passion has gone out of my life, but I haven't been able to find my passion. Gone, that is not working. But if you say something like "find a meaningful life," even that also, how do you find a meaningful life? Suppose somebody asks. So there is this young man who graduated from one of India's best engineering colleges and from one of India's top management schools. Those who know IIT and IIM. And then what he did was he started an orphanage for kids. And now there are more than 1,000 kids who don't have parents, or at least have one parent or no parents, or the parents are too poor to take care of them. More than 1,000 boys and girls, he takes care of them. And he has been tremendously successful because his approach is not that I'm running an NGO, and I'm doing some good to society. Not that way. He says, my approach is like, I am their father and mother. I take unlimited responsibility like real parents will do. Until the boy or the girl grows up and gets a job and moves out, until that time I have full responsibility. I take complete responsibility for the child. Other NGOs, what they do is, NGOs are what you call non-profits in this country. Non-profits. What they do is somebody provides food for the kids, somebody provides clothes, or somebody provides a school bag or pencils. You can't bring up a child like that. A little boy or a girl, you can't bring up a child like that by getting a half a dozen different agencies to provide a few the necessities of life. That's not the way to bring up a kid. And he says, I will take care of everything for the kid. I'm like their parent. So he's very, very successful. He got the President's Award in India for children's welfare a few years ago, and so on. Now, my point in raising this is two things. We are in a conference together. He's a very deep thinker. He is very motivated by Vivekananda. He reads the writings of Vivekananda, and everything that he has done has come out of the teachings of Vivekananda. Now, two questions here. One question is, how did he find this meaningful life? How did he come upon this? The second question is, what motivates him? Both are relevant here. Somebody asked him that how did you decide to do this? It's a meaningful life, correct? Like Seligman would say, how did you decide to do this? His answer was very interesting. He's an original thinker. He said, I didn't decide to do it. What happened was, after finishing college, I was thinking, what should I do? And I couldn't come up on any answer. So I just thought, what should I not do? What is it that does not motivate me? So do I want to be an executive in a multinational corporation like most of my classmates? I said, no, that doesn't quite motivate me. Do I want to be a professor like my teachers? No, that doesn't quite motivate me. What he just was looking, what is the feeling in his own heart? Like you're saying, what is inside your heart? He was actually actively searching what comes up within. And then he noticed these children, street children. This is in Calcutta, outside Calcutta, IIM Calcutta. He found these street children outside. And he felt, they need me. And I can really help them. And does it satisfy me? Yes, he felt a call in his heart. I should do something for them. And no sooner had he thought than he went out and did it. He got 3 kids. He started with 3 kids from straight up the street. He rented a room, took the 3 kids in, started taking care of them, educating them. I remember years later, a group of young men had come to start a non-profit and they were asking for advice from me. And I asked, what's the problem? Oh, registering the non-profit, there are all these legal clauses. And fundraising, there are this problem and that problem. I said, what have you done so far? No, we haven't started yet, but we are... I said, contrast it with this guy who is running this model non-profit. He didn't start with the problems. He started with what the kids needed right now. They don't have a place to sleep tonight. Yeah. They need a bath, they need food, they need education. And I'm going to provide it. The rest will come. Of course, he's extraordinarily talented, so the organization is built up is very well organized. I mean, it's very efficient, extraordinary. I mean, really, it has grown so well. So notice this. How do you find a meaningful life? If difficult to ask, if it's you're not getting an answer, what is meaningful for me? No answer. Not very clear. Then find out what is not meaningful for you. That is easier actually. Then you might actually stumble upon what is meaningful. So that was one question. The second question he answered was this thing. The question of motivation. What motivates you? He said, I have 2 kinds of motivators, intrinsic and extrinsic. Extrinsic is, I look at what I'm doing and how successful I have been and what I need to do next. So I started with 3 kids and then it was 50, then it was 100, then it was 500, now it's 1,000. And good. We are expanding and doing more and more. And why not? We are able to do so much. But he said, I have an intrinsic motivator too. That I know this is the right thing to do. This is really needed and it should be done. Now the thing is, the extrinsic motivator might not work. There are so many non-profits. Some of them are not doing well at all. Maybe I would have failed extrinsically. Maybe there would be no money, no helpers, and the organization might not have really expanded the way it has grown phenomenally. It might not have happened. But I would still go on because my intrinsic motivator told me this is the right thing to do. This is the right thing to do. Whether you win or lose, I still win. This is exactly what Krishna is telling Arjuna. Whether if you take this outlook, this point of view, then whether you win this battle or lose this battle, you win in both cases. 38th verse. He's concluding his argument. Sukha dukkhe same kritva labha labho jaya jayo labho jaya jayo tato yuddhaya yujjasva naivam papam avapsyasi. Very beautiful verse. Happiness and pain, or pleasure and pain, not happiness and pain, pleasure and pain, set them aside. Gain and loss, labha, alabha, gain and loss, set them aside. Jaya, ajaya, victory and defeat, set them aside. Whether it's painful, whether it's pleasurable, whether you are gaining or losing, whether you are, or whether it's a victory or a defeat, set them aside. Set your heart to do what is the right thing to do. Then you will not be touched by sin. Papa, demerit, sin. This is again a subtle, not so subtle indicator to what Arjuna had said in the 36th verse, just before Krishna started teaching, 36th verse of first chapter. 36th verse of first chapter, Arjuna had said, Papam eva ashraye rasman. We will incur sin by fighting this battle. Krishna is saying, do it in this way, you will not get sin. Do the right thing without the mental attitude, why am I doing it? I am doing it to be, I will be happy if I gain, and gain means victory. Defeat means a loss, and loss will make me unhappy. This kind of happiness-unhappiness equation you have set up is bound to make you unhappy. Set this aside. Really, if you want to be happy, then do the right thing without regard to whether you get pleasure or pain. This pleasure or pain or happiness-unhappiness equation you have set up is dependent on gain or loss. The the warrior in that battle, they will be happy if they win the battle. If they win the battle, they think it's a gain. In Sanskrit, Jaya means victory. Victory is labha, gain. Labha leads to sukha, happiness. And ajaya, that means defeat, is equivalent to alabha, loss. And loss leads to dukkha, unhappiness. This equation itself you threw out. Set this kind of thinking aside. Do the right thing, happiness is guaranteed for you. And you will not incur sin. Because that thing was nagging at him that this is a battle I'm fighting and these people are my relatives. So even if they are bad people, but if I fight against them, won't I get sin? No, you will not get sin. You will not get sin. The mental attitude is important. I'm fighting against them to snatch the kingdom away from them. Then it's a very dicey situation. The moral thing is clouded there. You're doing it because it's your duty to protect society. Clarity is there. Yeah. Have you heard of Jordan Peterson? He is very famous these days. He speaks to packed houses. He comes to New York sometimes. He is a professor of psychology at the University of Toronto. But a little controversial. But he has written this book, which is a huge bestseller. It's called 12 Rules for Success in Life or something. 12 Rules of Life. 12 Rules for Life. 12 Rules for Life. Where the basic idea is exactly this kind of thinking. For example, set your house in order before you criticize the world. In which he has a whole chapter on that. That do what you are expected to do first, before opening your mouth and finding out what's wrong with others. And he says he calls it the antidote to chaos. Your life is in chaos because you are violating these rules. Something like stand up straight when you walk or something like that. He says, compare yourself not to what somebody else is today, but rather to what you were yesterday. Never compare yourself to other people, what they are today. That will lead to unhappiness straight away. If you want to compare to what you were yesterday. You may be a little better, a little worse than that. That is a valuable comparison. That lesson can be learned from that. Like that, 12 rules. But basically this kind of thinking, yes.
So I have a question about Mahabharata and the context under which the Gita was told.
Yes.
When the Pandavas waged the war, or the war started to begin between Kauravas and Pandavas, it wasn't really because Duryodhana was a bad ruler and the people of Hastinapur will incur the wrath of a bad ruler. It was really because they asked for the 5 villages and he refused to give it to them. So ultimately,
And also the long history before that.
and the history before
Yeah.
But to say that fight the war because it is in the best interest of the people at large does not really speak to the reality behind why the war was waged in the first place.
It was
He might as well have been a good ruler if he...
It was waged for dharma. It would be difficult for Duryodhana to be a good ruler because all that, the entire history of the Kauravas of Duryodhana until that point was of maliciousness and envy and trying to take away the kingdom which really did not belong to him, take it away from Yudhishthira. That's how the story is set up. And the Pandavas under Krishna is trying to accommodate them again and again and again. And a series of wrongs which had been committed to them on the Pandavas by the Kauravas. So that's the history. If Duryodhana turns out to be a good ruler after all of this, would be a little surprising. And the Mahabharata does not really say that. Mahabharata says, in fact, Yudhishthira was supposed to be Dharmaputra and things like that. So yeah, it has been set up as a battle of the Dharma against Adharma. That is there. Yeah. But I'll point out one thing. Neither the context of Mahabharata nor whether the question of the battlefield and battle, these are not actually important. If an ancient civil war, which is hidden in the grey area between myth and history, nor the question of warriors fighting a war in ancient India, what utility does that have? What relevance does that have to millions of people across the centuries and millennia? How many of us are warriors with chariots and bows and swords fighting against relatives for a kingdom? No one. So why is it relevant to us? Often we get caught up in the questions which arise from the Mahabharata context. Who was right? Who was wrong? And a related question is the Gita promoting violence and war? Foolishness. This kind of question is foolish. So why is it foolishness? Because so many commentaries have been written on the Bhagavad Gita. Shankaracharya's commentary, you have got Madhvacharya's commentary, you have got Ramanujacharya's commentary, you have got Madhusudan Saraswati's commentary. These are only the ones I know. Sridhar Swami's commentary. These are the ones we study. And there are many, many more down to the present age. Down to the present age. Not one commentary ever takes it up in the context of a war. So are we going to fight war? Is Krishna teaching us to fight? Is Krishna teaching violence? And is he supporting warfare against peace? It's only in the modern time. Partly some Western commentators and now some Indian commentators also. Born out of the sheer perversity of modern thinking. They have raised this question that Gita encourages violence. Because on the face of it, it seems to be so. If it does, why has no commentator ever seen it for the last at least 1400 years? Nobody ever mentions it. You know where it comes from? This question, that is the Gita. Gita is talking about violence. It comes from two things. One is the tremendous guilt that is in the West, especially in Europe, for these huge wars which took place in 20th century. And both wars were entirely secular wars, had nothing to do with religion. There's enormous guilt in the Western mind because of that. And because of that, these questions keep coming up. Oh, you're linking war to religion. No, very bad. One thing. The second reason why this question comes up is because nowadays, in some people, they commit acts of terrorism based on religion. That's why suddenly it is connected to Gita, war, religion. Nothing to do with it. Mahatma Gandhi derives his doctrine of non-violence and he is inspired by Bhagavad Gita. Yes.
Swami, to follow this gentleman's point, though, I think a good modern example is the second George Bush was said to have said that God told him to, start the first Gulf War, right? That God, basically, that God told him. So the comparison then is that, can we trust that we think it's our dharma to kill someone or start a battle because we think God has told us to?
Yes. That's why I said Mahatma Gandhi, who took up non-violence as his preferred method of political agitation against the British rulers. He was inspired by the same text. Gita straight away, if you think like that, Gita will say you fight a battle. But he doesn't say so. And again, so many people throughout the centuries, including monks who are pacifist absolutely. So why are we studying the Gita? Are we all going out to fight battles? No. It's a call to action in our own respective battlefields. Clearly the meaning has to be symbolic. Otherwise, we have to give a new interpretation in that case. It's this kind of thinking. As I said, it's the modern sensibility. Both in the West and now its impact on India too. I've seen an Indian commentator saying that, see, Krishna taught violence. Would Buddha have ever said that? So there's a well-known writer who wrote that. Foolishness. It's not a problem of the Gita. You are thinking about it right now because violence is in your mind. Hatred, violence, this is in your mind. You are guilty of killing millions of people in the 20th century. And what you refer to that example, that's a different issue. You see, religion is never a good guide towards policy right now. It's the heart of the person which is the most important. Organized religions have always been, they have always played second fiddle to the powers that be. In every country, in every civilization, you will hardly find the priests or the church and all standing up in revolt against the emperor or the king. No, they've always been together. There's one reason for that. What belongs to Caesar does not belong to God. The Caesar's rule on the world is a secular thing. The central purpose of religion is spiritual. Take you towards spiritual life. And it becomes a guide to morality in the world. This thing has been lost sight of in the modern world. Most major world religions, people think of religion as something that is meant for giving us morals and values. It is, but not centrally. The central purpose of religion is it takes you to God realization, to moksha, nirvana, salvation, whatever you call it. That was well understood in the past. What has happened in the last 200-300 years is that because, as Nietzsche said, death of God. Since our faith in God, generally people do not seriously believe in God. So God, yes, something is there. God knows what is God. But religion is good because it makes us tell the truth and respect each other and all of that. So it's a source of values. And so we get shocked when somebody uses religion to justify violence because it seems to be against values. But religion is not primarily for that. You'll often find churches and popes have stood with the emperors and the powers which make war throughout history, not only in the West, everywhere in the world. And it's understandable because they really are not invested in the politics. They want to protect their own, their temples and churches and the following and the wealth and the power. And for that, the best thing is to be associated with the powerful person. And they will see in the Holocaust, the church there are accusations that they were closely associated with some collaboration with the Nazis too. Definitely with Mussolini. Why? You can criticize them now, but I'll play the devil's advocate here. That always their first interest is to protect the church itself. And are they wrong? Not quite. Because they see themselves in terms of thousands of years, not your little war today. Yeah. Sri Ramakrishna's importance is here. He has, for the first time, he has strongly made it clear that purpose of religion is God realization. Again and again and again, he says, God exists, the purpose of human life is God realization, the purpose of religion is God realization. My God, we have really gone out beyond time. I'm just seeing this stuff. Let's just hear the question and then we'll end. Yes.
The underlying message of Vedanta is we are Satchitanand.
Yes.
But in most of the conversation today, we said we we have to do things to gain happiness.
Yes.
So, and in regular life also, if we believe in the message of Satchidanand, how does one motivate oneself to go out and do stuff on a day-to-day basis?
We'll reserve that for the next time because the subject is Karma Yoga. And the reason we did not talk so much about Satchidananda and Brahman and all of that, remember, the topic of Jnana Yoga has concluded where we talked about all of these things. Now Krishna is using morality, his sense of honor and duty to persuade Arjuna to do what Krishna wants him to do. And now we will go into the philosophy of action, what you are asking. How do I live life? With all this high philosophy, how do I live life? How do I guide my actions in day-to-day life? What do I do with my life now if I want to be an enlightened person? That's the very important subject which is coming up next class. I'm sorry, I really went out beyond time. My God. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Rupanamastu.